I don't ever do this nonsense, and I ain't never doing that again. I ain't never doing that again. Good evening, Tasha. How are you?
Yo, you don't know how much I needed that.
I don't even know. I don't even know what you just had me doing.
Hi, good evening.
I saw you had a long day, and I'm like, well, let me do my part. Good evening, Tasha. So good to see you. So good to see your smiling face.
Thank you very much. It is nice to see you as well. So let's get into it.
Yes.
I am Tasha Howland.
And I am Sharon Porter.
And we are the AQ partners, and we're so glad that you joined us tonight
Yes.
for our live chat.
We are here every Thursday at 8:30, and every week we're talking about something that has to do with accountability. And tonight, we chose an interesting topic. Hey, Gangsta E, how are you?
Yeah, pop in the comments. Let us know where you're dialing in from. We got folks on YouTube, Facebook. Yeah, and if you're on YouTube, you can just log in, so you can also make comments on YouTube and Facebook.
So, in the spirit of this being Valentine's Day week, and whether you celebrated it earlier in the week or
this weekend
or this coming weekend, it is important to note that we thought that we would share and talk about accountability is a love language. First of all, did you have a good Valentine's Day? You and I didn't talk about it.
Yeah, I did. For me, it's about pouring the love out and seeing my kids super happy. And so I'm not the candy mom, but they got really cute Valentine's Day books.
Okay.
And then they got a ton of stuff from school. And so we were able to sort of celebrate in the evening with all of the wonderful treats from school. And then we exchanged Valentine's with their class. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. I was volunteering. I volunteered at an elementary school, and I was there on Valentine's Day, and it was a lot of candy.
Yeah,
a lot of candy those kids collected.
Yeah,
it might as well have been Halloween. And then I had a great Valentine's dinner and wine, and it was absolutely lovely.
Nice.
Yes. All right. So let's get into accountability is a love language, right? Tonight, what we want to talk about is the 5 ways to help you practice a loving form of accountability.
Because sometimes people can look at that word accountability and they get a little frightened, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Because it can come across harshly sometimes.
I was thinking, I'm sorry, yes. I mean, sometimes people look at the word accountability and they think it's very strict, it's very harsh, it's very rigid, it's a commander over you or something, like a sergeant or something over you. And it's not that way at all, right? And so if you don't know how to do it or you don't know how to approach certain things, here are 5 tips. Let's go.
Yeah.
Number 1, approach the situation with an inquisitive mind. Tasha, how do you do that?
Well, I have learned over the years with my astute communications partner and Brene Brown how to ask questions, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So approach the situation not presumptuously, right? But asking questions. I'm not going to say that you were that you didn't do what you said you're going to do off the jump. Let's talk about it. What happened in this situation? How could we have done things differently? Not we, but how could you have done something differently? Or how can we avoid this next time? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I have a close person in my life who they see things one way, right? Something happens, it must mean this, right? And I won't say a person in my life. I mean, there are a lot of people. This happened, XYZ happened. Well, it must mean 1, 2, 3, and you're not giving space for anything else to happen, and that actually is very rigid and unforgiving, and really things could be very different than you possibly. There might be more information that you didn't even know was existing.
Yeah.
And so, I've learned certainly the hard way, jumping out the window on people, and then you find out this whole other scenario, and you're like, "Whoa, I didn't realize."
I didn't even know. Yeah.
And now I feel, if I had only known, but really it was if I'd only asked. Good evening, Gail. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Gail. And I think asking questions it's definitely a softer approach, right? When we talk about being more loving, I think that you can be firm and loving, but also, kind of know the situation that you're dealing with. And
Yeah.
sometimes certain people, right, in certain situations, they definitely need the softer approach.
Yeah. Also, asking a question allows the person to participate in the conversation.
Yes, instead of just being chastised.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
invites the person to participate and lets them know that they have a say and their point of view is valued and not being judged. So, approach the situation with an inquisitive mind, step 1. Step 2, have a conversation when the incident first happens. I'm going to say I'm not always very good at this. Just gonna say that right now. I'm not. It's something I am growing in and working on. And I'm gonna say because in my mind, I understand this is the right way to do it. But I also know sometimes myself, I often like to go back and reflect and think and become really self-aware about what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling before I respond. I also don't like being terribly emotional.
Yeah.
And so giving myself a beat sometimes takes the emotion out of it, which to me sometimes I think can be a better way to communicate for me. But the key is you got to come back to it. What about you?
I mean, when I think about this in the context of accountability, I'm going to use the example of, I fell off my diet, right? I've shared with you that I only want to eat, broccoli and tilapia for the next 21 days. And I end up going out to eat and I have, chocolate cake for dinner,
Yeah.
right? And I told you I had chocolate cake.
Uh-huh.
And you have to have the conversation on day 1 when it happens, the first incident. You can't wait until day 19 and I've been eating chocolate cake for 15 days to then say, well, 12 days ago you ate the chocolate cake because now that's gone, right? So now I feel like, well, you've been thinking about this for 2 weeks. Why you ain't say nothing, So that's sort of where I think about it. Have the conversation when it first happens, which I'm going to raise my hand here too. It's definitely harder for me sometimes to have the tough conversations as soon as something happens because you don't know where that person is with it, right? So if we go
Yep.
back to step 1 and having the conversation
Yeah.
and you're asking
Those
questions in
questions.
order to open the conversation, then maybe it's going to make it a little easier and it's more loving. This is work, girl.
This is work.
But
This
if
is
you
work.
love someone, you put in the work.
If you love someone, you'll put in the work. All
Yeah.
right. Number 3, clearly explain the impact of that individual's behavior on you and only you. So I'm going to take that, and that is very simply don't go back to the past. Don't go to what they're doing over there. Don't go to keep it right here in this situation. It don't have nothing to do with
Yeah.
that and that and that. It only has to do with this situation. When you don't do that, you're really piling on a person that you want to be held accountable or you want to show an accountability moment, right? You're really just piling on because you do this and you do this and do this. And that's why, no. Right here, right now, this incident.
I'm going to bring Brene Brown back, right? This is how this is making me feel, right?
Yeah.
What I hear you saying is this, and this, right? You
Yeah.
might be saying something totally different, but for me to articulate it back to you, this is what I heard you say.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to clean my ears out. Maybe you need to say it in different words, but what I heard and what I received was this, and this is how it made me feel. And
Yeah.
if we're going to be in relationship and you are responsible for not hurting my feelings and I'm responsible for not hurting yours, I need to tell you how this impacted me.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
Gail says that is if you do step 1 for sure. All right. It always goes back to step 1.
I agree.
Ask the questions. All right. Number 4, practice raw listening.
This is new for me. What's raw listening?
Raw listening is, sometimes people listen just to speak.
Oh, right. Okay.
They don't fully stop and take the time to listen to everything that you have to say. They just hear that one thing and they're just waiting. And what will happen, you'll see they're jumping over you. They're speaking over you. They haven't fully heard the point. And therefore you're like, that's not what I was saying. I was trying to say this, but if you hadn't cut me off, you would have heard me, right? So then we go left, right? Then we go
Yeah.
left again. We're no longer holding anyone accountable. We just mad.
And it's not natural, right? I think naturally we are taught to listen and prepare a response because that's how conversations work. That's how arguments work, right? I have to have my rebuttal ready.
Right.
So practicing the raw listening, we have a card game, remember? The and?
Yeah.
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 And it's
Ooh.
cards, and you sit, across from your partner or your friend or whatever, and you ask a question and they answer, but you don't answer that question. You only listen to them, right? You don't get to respond to what they say. You don't
Yep.
get to add anything. You go to the next question and they ask you the question and you answer. They don't get to respond. It is really the practicing of listening, and it gives each individual an opportunity to just say their piece. Yeah.
Yeah. Gail says active listening. It gives the person that you're talking to, it gives the person talking the opportunity to feel heard. Because as we know from Oprah, all anyone ever wants to do is to feel heard. That's what she learned after her 25 years of doing the Oprah Winfrey Show. And that's what she said on her last show.
Hearing takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time.
But it's so important. Gangsta E says, a friend of mine cut me off on a Zoom meeting last night. I called her immediately after the meeting.
Oh, and said, you better not.
But it is, and it feels, and listen, to the person who's trying to explain whatever they're feeling, whatever they're thinking, it feels rude. It feels like they're not being heard. They're not being supported. Again, you have judgment that will enter, and then you're not really feeling, you're feeling more adversarial than you are accountable.
Yeah. Yvonne says, I need to practice this one. When I did my coaching practice, one of the things that we learned as coaches is about the active listening, as Gail mentioned, and it's to think about wait, right? WAIT. Why am I talking? Am I bringing value to this situation, or am I really listening? Right. And so you just say wait, right? When some thought pops up, you say wait, right? Because I need to hear everything before I respond.
And so Gail says, Dr. Phil said people need to know how you made them feel.
That's what they remember.
Yes. That's what they remember. And it's not easy, but it's so important. All right. And number 5, model what loving accountability looks like. Woo.
I try to do that in my house, right? With my kids. Because I think oftentimes as parents, we'll say, I'm going to do something, right?
Yeah.
Or tomorrow, right? Or Friday or next week. My kids don't forget nothing. They don't forget nothing. And they will hold me accountable to it. And so I'm always like, you know what? You're right. I did say that we were going to do this on Friday or this on Saturday, and I'm being held accountable. And so this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. Holding that up. And I also, like, if you have an accountable moment, model loving, I also think, is continuing to show love past that moment. Continuing to have love. Hey, I'm holding you accountable, but I'm not thinking any less of you. I'm not thinking, I don't want you to think, and you're assuring the person, right, that you're not thinking differently of them. You're not thinking less of them, that you are supportive of them. You're just, so you ate 15 pieces of cake or cake for 15 days straight. I don't want you to think I think you a fatty. No, I love you.
But you're going to be a fatty if you keep eating that
And
cake.
you keep eating, you're going to be a fat, and I love you just the same.
Yeah.
I'm
going to mention it to you, right? Because I know what your goal is.
Right. I'm going to mention it.
Articulate it to me. And so I'm going to remind you, right? In a loving way. You can eat the cake, but I'm just telling you, I'm giving you back what you gave me.
Right. Or, and I might say, and you know what? And I did not practice listening right there. My
cutting
bad.
me off. I'm going to call you
after this meeting. Hot day. Hot day. No, so I was going to say that also modeling loving accountability will look like we're out together and I say, well, why don't we have fruit? We can have fruit together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
love.
we have done that together. Like, so either one of us will be going on a fast and the other one will go on the fast with them, right? And so we've done juice fast and we've done sugar fast, and or we do workouts together, so on and so forth, particularly because we are health conscious.
Or
um
fasting for breakthrough.
Fasting for breakthrough. Yeah, I mean, that is what we've done, and that's loving accountability, because
Yeah.
you join me on the journey too, right? And I'm not left alone on the journey, so it's very helpful. So this has been these are things that we're always working, right? Like, make no
Always.
mistake about it, it's a work in progress, and you only get better as you practice it. But let's just go over them one more time.
Right, as you practice it, because it is a muscle, right? You have to strengthen it. And so, yes, we do have to practice all of them.
Yes. So number one, approach the situation with an inquisitive mind. Wait, Gangsta E says, sometimes I have to wait until I can say what I need to say without having to come back and say I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Sometimes I have to wait until I can say what I need to say without having to come back and say, well, listen, my mother always told me if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
I
then
mean,
you
for
say
sure.
it, you have to come back and say you're sorry and eat your words. You don't want to do that.
Right. So, you wait to the right moment. And sometimes my right moment just takes a little longer to get to. All right. Number one, approach the situation with an inquisitive mind. Number two, have a conversation when the first incident happens. Don't wait for 18 incidents. Number three, clearly explain the impact of the individual's behavior on you and only you.
Keep it right here.
Keep it right here. Don't talk about nobody else. Don't bring nobody else into this. Number four, practice raw listening.
Don't prepare your rebuttal and your response all the time.
And number five, model what loving accountability looks like.
Yeah, that's good.
So important.
I love the hearts.
We're doing something a little different out here. We're doing
I
something
like it.
different
I
out here.
like it.
All right, so that's going to do it for us. But if you would like to learn more about us and our accountability coaching and all the things that we do for our clients to help you achieve and to get everything you're trying to get to in life, you can follow us on our social on Facebook at AQ Partners, AQ_partners on Instagram. The AQ Partners is our website, and the AQ Partners on LinkedIn for sure.
Get on that LinkedIn, get
on
some
the
follows,
LinkedIn.
YouTube, like and subscribe so that you get the notification when we're coming on, and you can join us there as well.
All right, everyone. It has been a pleasure, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for joining. Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.